Cheers, gentle reader. How are you? I've been on a break because of the Lenten season, but I'm back now. On today's episode, we'll be discussing Chimamanda Adichie's debut novel. Can you remember what it is and where you were in 2006 when it was published? The title of the book we're discussing today is Purple Hibiscus. Have you read it? So as a form of feedback, a friend of mine reached out and said it would be good for me to summarize the book a bit before I go into the theme. So let me try that and see. Kambili Achike, the narrator, is a 15-year-old girl living in Enugu, Nigeria with her father, Eugene, Papa, mother, Beatrice, Mama, and older brother, Chukwuku, Jaja. The novel begins on Palm Sunday. Jaja refuses to receive Holy Communion at church and Papa throws his missile, breaking Mama's beloved figurines. Kambili then explains the events leading up to this scene. Papa, a wealthy factory owner, is an active philanthropist in public and an upstanding Catholic, but at home is a strict and violent authoritarian. He publishes a newspaper, The Standard, which is the only paper willing to criticize the new Nigerian head of state. Mama gets pregnant. After Mass one day, the family visits Father Benedict, their white priest. Mama feels sick and doesn't want to leave the car. When they return home, Papa beats Mama until she has a miscarriage. Later, Kambili takes her exams and comes second in her class, disappointing Papa. At Christmas, the family goes to their home village of Aba. Papa's father, Papa Nuku, lives there, but Papa doesn't speak to him because his father sticks to his traditional religion and won't become Catholic. Kambili and Jaja visit Papa Nuku briefly. Auntie Forma, Papa's widowed sister, and a university professor arrives in Aba as well. She seems fearless and willing to criticize both Papa and the government. Her children, Amaka, Obiora, and Chima, are precocious and outspoken. Ifoma takes Jaja and Kambili to an Igbo festival. On Christmas, Papa feeds the whole village. The next day, Papa catches Kambili breaking the Eucharist fast as she eats some food along with a painkiller she needs to take for menstrual cramps, and he beats her. Jaja and Mama. And he beats her, Jaja and Mama. Ifoma convinces Papa to let Jaja and Kambili visit her in Nsukka. Kambili and Jaja arrive and are surprised by Ifoma's poverty, but also the constant laughter in her house. Jaja is fascinated by the purple hibiscuses in Ifoma's garden. Father Amadi, a young, handsome Nigerian priest, comes to dinner. As the days progress, Jaja opens up though Kambili remains silent and confused. Ifoma hears that Papa Nuku is sick and she fetches him from Aba. Amaka starts painting a picture of him. Father Amadi visits often and Kambili finds herself attracted to him. One morning, Kambili observes Papa Nuku's morning ritual, which is similar to Catholic confession. Father Amadi takes Kambili to the local stadium. He makes her chase after him and tries to get her to talk. Kambili is confused by her feelings and his unpriestly demeanor. Papa finds out that Papa Nuku is staying in the house. The next morning, the family discover that Papa Nuku has died in his sleep. Papa takes Jaja and Kambili back to Enugu, and Amaka gives Kambili her painting. Papa punishes Jaja and Kambili for not telling him they were staying in the same apartment as their grandfather, a pagan, by pouring boiling water on their feet. Papa and his editor, Ade Coker, decide to run a controversial story in the Standard. Soon after, Ade Coker is assassinated with a package bomb. One day, Kambili and Jaja are looking at the painting of Papa Nuku when Papa comes in. He beats Kambili severely and she wakes up in the hospital. Papa agrees to let Jaja and Kambili return to Nsukka. Ifoma worries about losing her job for speaking up against the sole administrator appointed by the government. The university closes after a student riot. Men ransack Ifoma's flat, trying to intimidate her. Kambili falls more deeply in love with Father Amadi, who seems attracted to her. Mama arrives one day after being beaten into another miscarriage. Papa takes his family home, and the next day is the Palm Sunday on which the novel begins, where Jaja stands up to Papa. After Palm Sunday, there is less fear and silence in the house. Ifoma calls to say that she has been fired and is moving to America. Jaja and Kambili return to Nsukka. Ifoma takes them on a pilgrimage to Aukwe, where Kambili sees visions of the Virgin Mary and reaffirms her faith. Father Amadi leaves to do missionary work and Kambili weeps and confesses her love to him. Ifoma gets a visa and prepares to leave Nigeria. Papa is found dead at his desk and they all go to Enugu. When Papa's autopsy is complete, Mama says that she poisoned him. The police arrive and Jaja takes responsibility for the crime. 3 years later, Kamili and Mama visit Jaja in prison to tell him he'll be released soon. Mama has grown withdrawn and rarely speaks. After the visit, Kamili feels hopeful about the future. Now, where do I begin? Purple Hibiscus is a coming-of-age book, especially for Kamili. We saw, if you've read it, you would see how, at 15 years old, she's grappling with growing up, her family's expectations, her feelings, her body changes, and all of that. Now, before I talk about the themes that struck me, let's talk about Kamili's crush on Father Amadi. I remember the first time I visited the Dominican Formation House in Ibadan. I was worried. I was single at the time. I was worried that I'll probably never get married because all the fine boys that had decided to become priests. I was alarmed, So I want to say that having a crush on a priest, I think it's a rite of passage for most Catholic girls. But how does the priest handle it? Like in this case, Father Amadi handled it properly, the way it ought to be handled. Now, Purple Hibiscus isn't just about abuse, it's about how control disguises itself as love, faith, and even protection. The themes that struck me: silence as a language. Kamili is not shy. No, she's trained to be silent. It's a means of survival. I mean, what kind of father pours boiling water on his children just to teach them a lesson? The novel shows how silence can be protective, enforced, and eventually broken. When she begins to speak more at Auntie Forma's house, that's not small growth, it's rebellion. And then she was comfortable. She had found her people. She was safe. She felt safe. And so naturally, you begin to speak more. Love that harms. Eugene isn't a cartoon villain. He genuinely believes he's doing right. That's what makes it uncomfortable. The story explores how love can be controlling, care can become cruelty, good intentions can still destroy people. It begs the question, is something still love if it hurts this much? Colonial hangover. Eugene rejects anything seen as traditional or native because he associates it with sin or backwardness. That mindset is a direct result of colonial influence. Meanwhile, Papa Nuku represents pre-colonial spirituality. Auntie Forma blends both worlds more freely. The real tension isn't just religion, it's identity. I know that in a Catholic church today, we have cultural days. We have days where, on Sundays especially, where people come dressed in their different attire. For the Igbo people, you will see people with the Oja flute, processing to the altar. That's the fusion that we want to see more of, especially in this part of the world. And then even at baptism, you're allowed to pick native names. You're allowed to choose native names that have, deep Christian roots, or that refer to God. I don't know how to explain it, but I know that right now, as we speak, that if you're baptizing your child, you're allowed to pick a native name that is rooted in Christianity. It mustn't always be a Catherine or an Ephraim or a Saint Ignatius. You can choose proper Igbo, proper Yoruba, proper Igala names that are rooted deeply in faith. Laughter as freedom. At Auntie Forma's house, people laugh loudly, argue openly, and exist freely. That laughter feels strange to Kamili at first, but it becomes a symbol of emotional safety. It represents a different kind of home. It's not just a happier house, it's a freer one. Food as power and control. Meals in Eugene's house are rigid and tense. Meals in Nsukka are messy, shared, and alive. Food reflects control versus freedom, fear versus comfort, hierarchy versus connection. Even who eats first or how matters. I mean, in Eugene's house. But in Auntie Forma's house, it's a galore. Anybody eat what you like, eat how you like, speak freely. I mean, who wouldn't be happy in that kind of environment? Even though, if you heard when I summarized the book, she lived in poverty, but they were happy. That should tell us that money is not everything, and money is not usually the answer to all our problems. Religion versus spirituality. The book doesn't simply criticize religion, it questions how it's practiced. Eugene's faith is rigid, punishing, rule-based, and controlling. Papa Nnukwu's spirituality is personal, peaceful, and rooted in culture. Auntie Forma sits in between, suggesting faith doesn't have to be extreme to be meaningful. Coming of age through discomfort. Camberly doesn't grow through comfort. She grows through confusion, attraction, and inner conflict, especially with Father Amadi. Her development is awkward, quiet, and realistic. She's noticing her body, she's feeling desire, and she's questioning authority. All these reactions are not dramatic, they are deeply human. Freedom isn't clean or easy. By the end, freedom comes at a cost. Mama had to poison Papa and Jaja took the fall. So their freedom came at a very high cost. There's no neat resolution. The family is fractured. Jaja takes the fall. Camberly is hopeful but scarred. The novel quietly says breaking free can be messy. And then you ask the question, is it worth it? Awareness. I saved this one for last. Father Amadi handles Camberly's growing affection with a mix of warmth, awareness, and clear restraint. And that balance is the whole point. He sees her but does not exploit it. He clearly notices that she is attracted to him. He doesn't ignore it or pretend to be oblivious, but instead of taking advantage, he treats her with dignity, not indulgence. He keeps their interactions appropriate. This matters especially when you compare him to the control she's used to at home. He encourages her voice, not her feelings. He doesn't focus on deepening the emotional attachment. Instead, he consistently pushes her to speak up, laugh, and participate. He's helping her grow into herself, not someone attached to him. He creates safe closeness with boundaries. He gently redirects without humiliating her. He chooses his vocation clearly. Who doesn't need a Father Amadi in their lives, both for male and female children? Everybody needs a safe space where they can go to at whatever age. I keep telling my children, even if you're not safe coming to me, you should be safe coming to your father. There has to be someone that you can safely talk to your issues about, who will not take advantage of you. But the question now is, are we safe enough for people to open to us, especially for those of us that hold the moral high ground, priests, pastors, seminarians, reverend sisters? Are we safe enough for people to open up to us? So yes, that is Purple Hibiscus. If you haven't read it, please go get a copy and read. This is the cover I have. I know that there are different other covers. There's the Ankara one. There's so many others. In fact, it's so bad that when my son told me they were reading it in school, I bought him another copy because I didn't want anything to happen to mine. So will you be reading this? If you have, let's discuss it in the comment section. See you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Bye.